You have lost more lives in detention than anybody else. That is your record right now. So I don't expect that y'all are going to be the ones that are going to be best to keep them safe. This is why we are supposed to conduct oversight and not wait for you to give permission. In fact, after I left the Dilley facility, we were informed of a measles outbreak that was taking place in that facility. And are allowed to, entitled to enter any detention.
Representative Crockett, I apologize. I have to run to vote in another committee, Secretary, and Mr. Schmidt will chair, and you will get extra 15 seconds, but I apologize for that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much
Mr.
for your
Chairman.
testimony.
Appreciate it.
Are you aware that the law makes it clear that members of Congress are allowed to enter any detention facility at any point in time in which they choose to?
Yes, I'm aware of the visitation and oversight responsibility, and we work every day to try to accommodate members of Congress while taking into account the safety of those individuals that are being detained there.
Let me be clear. At any time, correct?
Yes, I understand there's litigation in this area.
No, that's not my question. I'm not asking you about litigation.
Yeah.
I'm asking you what the law is, because let me put it to you this
There's
way.
an appropriations rider that talks about
Correct,
oversight.
and appropriations are law, because you are asking us to
correct.
appropriate dollars right now for DHS, correct?
Correct.
And if we do that, you would take that as law, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that is what the law states, yet somehow, myself and another colleague, Congressman Castro, we ended up giving a 7-day notice to the Dilley detention facility because I had actually already gone to El Paso before. And when I went to that facility and I asked them why it was that they were requiring me to do something that specifically my branch of government had dictated was not required, they said it was because of you. They said you were the one that said that they were not allowed to allow us entry unless we gave a 7 days heads up. Is that true?
Yeah. The law specifically states oversight and visitations, and we are working to facilitate those, and we're at that time working to
did you give the instruction that members must give a 7 days heads up or not?
We had a policy in place that allowed us to get
Were you the one that ordered that policy?
I have a responsibility for ensuring everybody in that facility is going to be safe, and that I have adequate
no, but that's not my question, because the
conduct
problem,
a tour
let me tell you why we need to, reclaiming my time. The reason that I'm talking to you about this policy, and you're talking to me about safety, is because I did go into the Dilley detention facility. And let me tell you, they're not safe. This is why we need to conduct oversight, because your people continue. In fact, you have lost more lives in detention than anybody else. That is your record right now. So I don't expect that y'all are going to be the ones that are going to be best to keep them safe. This is why we are supposed to conduct oversight and not wait for you to give permission. In fact, after I left the Dilley facility, we were informed of a measles outbreak that was taking place in that facility. And another question I have, are you the one that ordered it to be reopened, because that facility was closed under Joe Biden?
Those facilities were opened with the new administration. I'd have to look and see.
Okay, you're part of the new administration. Were you the one that ordered it to be open, is my question.
I would have to see when it was opened, because I wasn't sworn in until 5 days after.
Okay, well, it was
out.
reopened in
So I
March.
would have to look at
it was reopened in March of last year.
Well, then I'm sure that contract would have been renewed while I was secretary.
Speaking of contracts, as I have, actually, you know what? Let me continue on this line of y'all breaking the law. Are you familiar with a child by the name of Liam Ramos?
I am.
All right, so Liam was at this Dilley facility, and it just so happened that we had put in our 7 days notice, and y'all had grabbed him 6 days prior to our visit. So we were able to go and visit Liam. Are you aware of the court order that came down that released Liam from custody?
I am.
And are you aware that the judge said the case has its genesis in an ill-conceived and incompetently implemented government pursuit of daily deportation quotas, apparently even if it requires traumatizing children? This court and others regularly send undocumented people to prison and orders them deported, but do so by proper legal procedures. Are you aware of that?
Yes, and I would disagree with the judge on several
I'm
points
sure you would, but can you tell me whether or not you have a law degree?
Father chose to.
Can you tell me whether or not you have a law degree?
If I have what?
A law degree.
No, I do not have a law degree.
And you do understand, because I can go through a bunch of court cases and orders that I disagree with from the Supreme Court, that ultimately, that is the order of the court. That is what you follow, and if you have an issue, you appeal it up, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. The court went on to say, apparent also is the government's ignorance of an American historical document called the Declaration of Independence. 33-year-old Thomas Jefferson enumerated grievances against a would-be authoritarian king over his nascent nation. Among others were, he has sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people. He has excited domestic insurrection among us, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us. He has kept us among, in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. Are you aware that he wrote that? Do you know that he was writing about ICE that falls under you?
The judge?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. With that, I will yield, but I do have 2 UCs. The first UC is ICE training was slashed, records show corroborating whistleblower claims from the Washington Post on yesterday.
Without objection.
The second one is FEMA's response to Texas flood slowed by Noem's cost controls. This is out of...
Good evening and welcome back. A heated moment on Capitol Hill is drawing nationwide attention tonight after a tense exchange between Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem during a congressional hearing on immigration detention and federal oversight. What began as routine questioning quickly escalated into one of the most intense moments of the hearing as lawmakers pressed the Department of Homeland Security over detention facility policies, congressional oversight authority, and concerns about safety conditions inside immigration facilities. During her allotted 5 minutes, Representative Crockett questioned Secretary Noem about whether members of Congress are legally allowed to enter immigration detention centers without prior notice. Under federal law and appropriations provisions passed by Congress, lawmakers are granted the authority to conduct oversight visits at detention facilities as part of their legislative responsibilities. Crockett asked the secretary directly whether she was aware that members of Congress are legally entitled to enter detention centers at any time. Secretary Noem responded that she was aware of the oversight role of Congress and said the department works to accommodate those visits while also considering safety and operational concerns. But the questioning quickly turned more pointed. Crockett claimed that when she and another lawmaker attempted to visit the Dilley detention facility in Texas, they were required to give 7 days advance notice, despite the law not requiring such notice. According to Crockett, when she questioned officials at the facility about the policy, they allegedly told her the requirement came from leadership within the Department of Homeland Security. The Congresswoman then pressed the Secretary directly, asking whether she personally ordered the policy requiring lawmakers to provide advance notice before entering the facility. Secretary Noem responded that the department had policies designed to ensure safety and coordination for visits, but did not clearly confirm whether she personally ordered the 7-day notice requirement. Crockett pushed back, saying the issue goes beyond procedure and goes directly to the heart of congressional oversight. She argued that lawmakers must be able to enter facilities freely in order to monitor conditions and ensure detainees are being treated safely and legally. During the exchange, Crockett also raised concerns about conditions inside the Dilley Detention Center, claiming that shortly after her visit, officials reported a measles outbreak inside the facility. The Congresswoman also questioned the decision to reopen the detention center, noting that the facility had previously been closed during the administration of President Joe Biden. She asked Secretary Noem whether she personally ordered the facility to reopen. Noem replied that the center had reopened shortly before she was sworn into office as secretary and said she would need to review the timeline to determine whether she was directly responsible for the decision. But the questioning did not stop there. Crockett then referenced a case involving a child detainee named Liam Ramos, who had reportedly been held at the same detention facility before being released following a court order. The Congresswoman cited remarks from a federal judge involved in the case who criticized the government's immigration enforcement practices and raised concerns about how deportation policies were being implemented. The judge reportedly wrote that the case stemmed from what he described as an ill-conceived and incompetently implemented pursuit of deportation quotas, even if it risked traumatizing children. Crockett asked Secretary Noem whether she was aware of the court's criticism. Noem acknowledged she was aware of the ruling, but said she disagreed with parts of the judge's assessment. That led to another striking moment in the hearing. Crockett then asked the secretary whether she holds a law degree. When Noem replied that she does not, Crockett argued that regardless of personal disagreement with a court's opinion, federal officials must ultimately follow judicial rulings unless they are successfully appealed. The exchange underscored the broader constitutional balance between the executive branch, which enforces federal law, and the judiciary, which interprets it. Before yielding the remainder of her time, Crockett also entered 2 documents into the congressional record. One referenced a report about immigration enforcement training and whistleblower claims published by The Washington Post, and another cited a CNN report concerning federal disaster response policies and budget controls. The exchange quickly began circulating online, drawing strong reactions across social media. Supporters of Crockett praised her questioning as a forceful example of congressional oversight, saying lawmakers have a duty to hold federal agencies accountable and ensure transparency in government operations. Critics, however, argued that the exchange reflected growing political tensions surrounding immigration policy and the management of detention facilities in the United States. Immigration enforcement and detention practices have been a long-standing political flashpoint in Washington, with lawmakers from both parties debating issues such as facility conditions, border enforcement policies, deportation procedures, and the role of federal oversight. The Dilley facility mentioned during the hearing has previously been used to house migrant families and has been the subject of debate for years among policymakers and advocacy groups. For now, the hearing serves as a reminder of how deeply contested immigration policy remains in the United States, particularly when questions of transparency, accountability, and human rights are involved. And as the debate continues in Congress, moments like this one highlight the intense scrutiny federal agencies face as lawmakers push for answers on some of the most sensitive issues in the country today. We'll continue following developments from Capitol Hill and bring you updates as more information becomes available. For now, that's the latest from Washington. Stay with us for more news after the break.